You're 43 years old, you can't finish a sentence, you walk into a room and forget why you're there. You snap at your kids over nothing, cry in the car on the way to work, and lie awake at 2 a.m. with your brain running like a broken blender. You Google your symptoms, and the internet says ADHD. You go to your doctor, they say anxiety, maybe depression, here's a prescription. But nobody, not one person, asks about your hormones. What if I told you that millions of women are living exactly this story? And what if I told you that the medical system has been getting this wrong, spectacularly, systemically wrong for decades? Welcome to the Hormonal Brain Channel. Today, we are getting into one of the most misunderstood intersections in women's health, ADHD and perimenopause. What's the difference? What's the overlap? And why do doctors keep missing it? Let's start with some context. Perimenopause, the transition phase before menopause, typically begins for women somewhere between their late 30s and mid-40s, and it can last anywhere from 4 to 12 years. That's right, over a decade. During this time, your estrogen and progesterone levels don't just drop, they fluctuate wildly. Up, down, like a hormonal roller coaster that nobody warned you about, nobody gave you a ticket for. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Estrogen is not just a reproductive hormone. It is deeply, profoundly connected to your brain. Specifically, it regulates dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for focus, motivation, memory, emotional regulation, and reward. So when estrogen starts dropping, dopamine drops too. And a brain low on dopamine looks a lot like ADHD. B-roll suggestion, simple animation showing estrogen and dopamine levels declining in tandem, brain fog, forgetfulness, inability to concentrate, emotional dysregulation, impulsivity, difficulty completing tasks. Sound familiar? These are textbook ADHD symptoms. They are also textbook perimenopause symptoms. And that is exactly why women are walking into doctors' offices every single day and walking out with the wrong diagnosis or no diagnosis at all. Now, let's get into the actual science, because this is where it gets really eye-opening. The dopamine connection. Estrogen directly modulates dopamine receptors in the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for executive function, planning, decision-making, emotional control, and working memory. When estrogen is high, dopamine transmission is more efficient. When it falls, the whole system gets sluggish. Research has shown that the cognitive symptoms women experience during perimenopause, specifically the memory lapses and attention difficulties, are directly tied to this estrogen-dopamine fluctuation. This isn't just stress. This is neurochemistry. ADHD in women already underdiagnosed. Here's a layer that makes this even more complicated. ADHD in women has historically been underdiagnosed. Why? Because ADHD in females often presents differently than in males. Boys with ADHD are often hyperactive, disruptive, visibly struggling. Girls with ADHD tend to be inattentive, quiet, good at masking. They develop coping strategies that hide the condition for years. So, a huge population of women have been living with undiagnosed ADHD their entire lives. They've been managing, coping, white-knuckling their way through work and motherhood and relationships. And then perimenopause hits and removes all the hormonal scaffolding that was quietly helping them cope. Suddenly, the mask falls off and everything falls apart. This is why so many women receive their first ADHD diagnosis in their 40s. Not because they suddenly developed ADHD, but because their hormones could no longer compensate for it. Okay, so we've established the overlap. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. Why is medicine failing women here? Reason one, siloed medical specialties. Your gynecologist manages your hormones. Your psychiatrist or GP manages your mental health. Rarely do they talk to each other. Rarely does one ask, could this be hormonal or could this be ADHD? They treat the symptom in front of them, not the whole woman. Reason two, women's symptoms are still being dismissed. Study after study shows that women are more likely than men to have their pain and cognitive symptoms attributed to anxiety, stress, or just getting older. Women are prescribed antidepressants at nearly double the rate of men. Many of those prescriptions are masking an undiagnosed hormonal or neurodevelopmental condition. Reason 3, lack of medical training. A 2019 survey of OBGYN residency programs in the United States found that the average training time dedicated to menopause was just 3 hours. 3 hours. To prepare doctors for a transition that affects every single woman alive. And ADHD, historically studied almost exclusively in male populations. Reason 4, the symptoms are easy to misattribute. Can't concentrate? Must be stress. Mood swings? Must be depression. Forgetfulness? Must be anxiety or aging. Nobody is connecting the dots. Nobody is asking, when did your period start changing? When did the brain fog begin? I want to share some experiences that may sound very familiar to you. Sarah, 46, a former teacher, described it this way: I went from being the most organized person in my school to not being able to read a paragraph without losing my place. I thought I had early dementia. My doctor gave me antidepressants. It took 3 more years before someone checked my hormones. Michelle, 41, an attorney. I'd always been high functioning. Then something just shifted. I was missing deadlines, losing track of conversations mid-sentence, unable to prioritize. I was diagnosed with ADHD at 41. Nobody told me estrogen could be part of the picture until I found this kind of content online. These are not isolated stories. These are the norm. And they represent a massive failure of the healthcare system to serve women in midlife. So what do you actually do with all of this information? Here are concrete steps. Step 1, track everything. Start a symptom journal. Note when brain fog, mood changes, and concentration problems occur. Map it against your cycle. Patterns are powerful evidence to bring to your doctor. Step 2, request a hormonal panel. Ask your doctor for an FSH test, follicle stimulating hormone, estradiol levels, and thyroid function. These can help establish whether hormonal fluctuation is driving your symptoms. Step 3, ask specifically about perimenopause. Many women don't know they're in perimenopause because they're still having periods. If your cycle is changing shorter, longer, heavier, lighter, combined with cognitive symptoms, that is a conversation worth having. Step 4, consider seeking a specialist. A menopause specialist or a psychiatrist familiar with female hormonal cycles can be transformative. Don't accept a dismissive response as a final answer. Step 5, you are your own best advocate. Come prepared. Bring your symptom journal. Name your concerns clearly. If a doctor dismisses you, find another doctor. Your cognitive health matters. Your quality of life matters. Here's what I want you to take away today. If you are a woman in your late 30s, 40s, or early 50s, and you are struggling cognitively, emotionally, or neurologically, you are not broken. You are not losing your mind. And you are not alone. The overlap between ADHD and perimenopause is real, it is documented, and it is one of the most underserved areas in women's health. The more we talk about it, the more we demand better, the faster things will change. If this video resonated with you, share it with a woman who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more evidence-based content on the hormonal brain. And drop a comment below. I want to know, have you experienced this? Were you misdiagnosed? Let's talk.